Number 10. Macaulay Billings. Instead of pulling over for police during an attempted traffic stop in Wakefield, England, 26-year-old Macaulay Billings put the pedal to the metal, leading officers on a wrong-way chase up the M1 highway, reaching speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour, 161 kilometers per hour. Fearing for their lives, his two passengers begged him to either slow down or let them out of the vehicle. Even the police gave up the pursuit after deeming it far too dangerous to continue. Ignoring his passengers' pleas, Billings continued driving the wrong way for 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers, before colliding head-on into a BMW. Everyone in the car suffered from life-threatening injuries and lasting physical damage. Macaulay's half-brother's arm was amputated. His front seat passenger, who begged him to stop right up until moments before the crash, was left wheelchair-bound with over a dozen injuries. The driver of the BMW, a musician, sustained physical damage that makes it difficult to play instruments. Billings pleaded guilty to multiple counts of serious injury by dangerous driving and serious injury of driving while disqualified. He was sentenced to 3 years and 7 months in prison and is required to serve half of it before he becomes eligible for release. The judge also banned him from driving for 9 years. Number 9. Young torturers. A group of young adults trying to make a quick buck broke into the Metairie, Louisiana home of a construction worker in 2022 and held a 40-year-old man and his son hostage for hours. Mistakenly believing the man had a large amount of cash stashed in the house, they demanded an $80,000 ransom. The money didn't come because he didn't have it, but they remained convinced that he did, even after they tried to cut part of his finger off. The suspects decided to let him know they were serious about their demand by kidnapping his son. They told the man that he had a certain amount of time to come up with the money and contact them for directions on where to drop it off. Instead of scrambling to meet the abductor's demands, the victim freed himself and called 911. Sheriff's deputies quickly tracked down the license plate using surveillance footage from a bank where the kidnappers had used the man's ATM card to withdraw cash. In the meantime, investigators had the victim play along with the suspect's plan. He negotiated the ransom down to $15,000 and sent them a photo of the cash. In reality, it was an image of money the sheriff's office had seized in an unrelated case. Law enforcement waited at the agreed-upon meeting location for exchanging the ransom, but when they tried to pull the abductor's SUV over, the driver fled. A lengthy chase ensued, with multiple state and federal agencies joining in the effort. They eventually managed to disable the vehicle. Police learned that the suspects and the victims didn't know each other, but declined to go into detail about who gave them the idea that the victim had a lot of money laying around. 18-year-old Michelle Mayorga, 18-year-old Nielsen Frederick Ruiz, 20-year-old Eduardo Nunez Ponce, and an unnamed fourth suspect were charged with aggravated kidnapping, aggravated burglary, and aggravated flight from an officer. The suspects remain locked up on over $2 million bail each and have been formally indicted in the case. Number 8. Carlos Castaneda. In a disturbing call that came into the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in Florida one night in 2021, a civilian reported witnessing a shooting and seeing the suspected shooters trying to drag the victim's body into a canal. For whatever reason, they changed their minds and put the corpse in the back of a pickup truck. Deputies could see the body in the truck bed when they began chasing after the vehicle. The truck fled, reaching speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, 161 kilometers per hour, as it crossed over into Martin County. Numerous squad cars were involved in the 50-mile, 80.5-kilometer chase, as well as several helicopters. Law enforcement attempted to stop the truck using deflation devices called stop sticks, but the vehicle managed to drive around them. They had better success with a tactical maneuver, which involves deliberately hitting a vehicle for the sake of disabling it. After finally stopping the vehicle, deputies took 2 suspects into custody, including the driver, Carlos Castaneda. The dead shooting victim in the back of the truck was identified as 23-year-old Miguel Mejia Granados. During questioning, Castaneda's girlfriend reportedly told investigators that her boyfriend killed Granados because he suspected him of murdering his brother. Castaneda was charged with second-degree murder. Number 7. Clarissa Van Allen. In 2018, police in Newark, New Jersey received a call about a 1999 Honda that was connected with several local hit-and-run accidents. The driver was 27-year-old Clarissa Van Allen, who was driving erratically with what seemed like little regard for traffic laws. Officers tried to pull the vehicle over, but Van Allen hit the gas and sped off. She was going 50 miles per hour, 80.5 kilometers per hour in a 25 mile per hour, 40 kilometer per hour zone, and running through multiple red lights and stop signs. Her reckless driving reportedly forced several drivers to veer out of the way to avoid a head-on collision. The 3-mile-long, 4.8-kilometer pursuit ended when Van Allen crashed into 4 parked cars. According to a statement of facts, the vehicles were all left with extensive damage. Van Allen was arrested on a felony charge of failing to comply with the order or signal of a police officer. Records indicate that she was sentenced to 180 days in jail and fined $1,025. Number 6. Caitlin Rodriguez. 29-year-old Caitlin Rodriguez was apparently so desperate to avoid police custody that she allegedly led officers on a dangerous high-speed car chase with her baby in the back seat. The incident, which happened in 2018, started with an attempted traffic stop, but she had warrants out for her arrest. Rodriguez fled, reaching speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, 161 kilometers per hour, while she swerved in and out of traffic, narrowly avoiding several crashes and almost hitting an officer as he laid a spike strip in the road. She lost control of the vehicle after running over the spike strip and crashed into a truck. Determined to put as much space between herself and law enforcement as possible, Rodriguez grabbed the baby carrier holding her infant and ran on foot. Police caught her trying to carjack an SUV and finally apprehended her. She was charged with endangering a child, possession of a controlled substance, and evading arrest. Her baby was taken into the care of Child Protection Services. Number 5. Willie Harris. After receiving a call about a reckless driver, officers in Miami-Dade County, Florida, tried to pull over the vehicle in question. The driver tried running them off the road several times before fleeing the scene. A high-speed chase ensued, with a helicopter tracking the vehicle from overhead. The pursuit ended when the suspect crashed into a bus, causing 4 nearby cars to also crash. 2 people were injured, but everyone thankfully survived. 20-year-old Willie Harris was charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer, fleeing and eluding police, reckless driving causing serious bodily injury, resisting an officer without violence, and marijuana possession. Number 4. Johnny and Shondo. When a police officer in Fullerton, California tried to pull them over in a routine traffic stop, 33-year-old Johnny and Shondo drove into a nearby apartment complex and fled on foot. He allegedly carjacked a van, then repeatedly backed up into a police cruiser that was trying to block him in. The suspect managed to squeeze back onto the road and led law enforcement on a chase to Whittier, reaching speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, 161 kilometers per hour. And Shondo ditched the van and ran into a nearby home, where he snatched a pair of keys and stole the person's truck. The resident attempted to close their gate before he could drive away, but he rammed the truck right through it. For nearly another hour, he continued to elude police, crashing into multiple civilian vehicles along the way and once again reversing forcefully into a cop car. The pursuit ended when Shondo crashed into a pump outside a gas station. Smoke and flames spewed from the rear of the truck while he engaged in a shootout with officers, refusing to leave the burning vehicle. He finally gave up when law enforcement approached him with ballistic shields and smashed the driver's side window in. Miraculously, nobody was seriously injured during the chase. And Shondo faces 8 felonies, including assaulting an officer with a deadly weapon, 3 counts of vandalism exceeding $400 of damage, theft with a prior conviction of taking a vehicle, carjacking, burglary, and more. He also faces numerous misdemeanors. If convicted on all counts, he could face up to 54 years in prison. Number 3. Terence and Andrew Zabavsky. Warehouse worker Jonathan Vladimir Urrutia Chavez was driving in Washington, D.C. with several family members in the car one night in 2020 when a moped emerged from an alleyway and slammed into his vehicle. The moped rider, 20-year-old Karen Hilton Brown, flew into the air and landed on the pavement. He died from a catastrophic brain injury. At the time, Hilton Brown was fleeing from police officers Terence Sutton and Andrew Zabavsky, who had seen him driving erratically with no helmet on. It's against police policy in D.C. for officers to pursue suspects over traffic violations, leading to charges against Sutton for second-degree murder and conducting a legally reckless chase in violation of policy. Both men are charged with trying to conceal the incident and remain suspended without pay pending the outcome of the case. Prosecutors alleged that the pair downplayed the severity of the accident to their commander. During their trial, Chavez, the man whose vehicle Hilton Brown crashed into, testified that the officers questioned him very briefly at the scene and sent him on his way. Sutton's lawyer argued that his client believed Hilton Brown intended to commit a crime and therefore was obligated under department standards to pull him over. The verdict remains to be seen. Number 2. Irwin Gamboa Gomez and Rodolfo Mendoza Ochoa. After noticing an SUV driving around with its headlights off one night in Pasco, Texas, officers tried to pull the vehicle over, but it sped up. The police backed off the chase until they saw the SUV again a few minutes later and followed it. This time, it was heading toward a local trailer park, where a lot of stolen vehicles had been dumped recently, according to an affidavit. Thinking the SUV might be stolen and that the driver might be planning to dump it in the trailer park, Officer Matt Griffin turned his headlights off and followed it into the trailer park, where he parked his vehicle and waited for it to pass back through. When the SUV drove by again, he turned his headlights on. He heard yelling and then saw a woman rush out of the vehicle and toward his patrol car. She was in hysterics as she explained that two men pulled up to her in the SUV earlier that day. One of them asked her if she remembered him, and she said no. When she started getting visibly nervous and was about to run from the scene, he told her to get in the vehicle or he'd hurt her boyfriend. Whatever plans the men had for the victim were put on hold when Officer Griffin pursued them. They shifted their focus to getting him off their trail, stopping in the trailer park to wait in hopes that he'd find something else to do. Thanks to Griffin's vigilance, the woman saw an opportunity to escape. Police chased after the SUV until the driver lost control of it. They arrested 27-year-old Irwin Gamboa Gomez and 39-year-old Rodolfo Mendoza Ochoa on suspicion of first-degree kidnapping. Number 1. Geneulantrop. In early 2021, Kansas Highway Patrol Officer Austin Shepley chased after an SUV going the wrong way outside Topeka in the middle of the night. The vehicle nearly hit numerous cars as it swerved down the highway at speeds of up to 90 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour. Shepley eventually disabled the SUV using a tactical move and discovered that the man behind the wheel was Kansas Senate Majority Leader Geneulantrop. In an affidavit, Shepley wrote that the politician initially failed to comply with his commands. He described Geneulantrop as looking confused and frightened with a blank stare and said that he wasn't registering or responding to the patrolman's commands. Geneulantrop reportedly minimized the severity of his actions, incredulously stating, "all for going the wrong way." The 69-year-old called the officer Donut Boy and allegedly told the patrolman he would beat him in a fight while having his blood taken to determine his alcohol content. Shepley wrote that Geneulantrop said he played state sports competitively while eyeing the patrolman up and down. His blood alcohol content tested out at more than twice the legal limit, and he was charged with a felony count of eluding police, speeding, DUI, and improperly crossing over on a divided highway. When news of the incident broke, Geneulantrop said he was going to step down from his political position. But he didn't, and he also managed to avoid a felony conviction thanks to a plea deal with prosecutors, which saw him plead no contest to reduce charges. Geneulantrop was sentenced to 2 days in jail. He announced that he'll be stepping down from his duties in early 2023. Thanks for watching. Would you rather sit in a traffic jam for 12 hours or be stuck riding as a passenger in your friend's car while they refuse to pull over and try to elude police? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.